Cold is a stealthy assassin. In the end, you never see it coming. G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam and today I'm going to be doing a review of The Girl and the Mountain by Mark Lawrence. The Girl and the Mountain is book 2 of the Book of the Ice series, and it follows Yaz and her friends on a continuing adventure from book 1. It also takes place in the world that the Book of the Ancestor trilogy has already set up. At the end of this video, I'll give you my overall rating out of 10, but it's safe to say that I didn't enjoy this book as much of many of the reviews that I've read and many of the reviews that I've seen from other booktubers so far. But let's jump straight into the pros about what I found about this book. Developed his character development. No. In book 1 of the series, The Girl and Her Stars, I found Yaz's motivations and her justifications for actions to be lacking in her character development. But in book 2 of the series, that's something that Mark has really developed and worked on, and something that throughout the whole character base makes much more sense. One of the strongest points for me in this book and in the whole series is the way that Mark has tied in separate elements from books so far, including the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, book 1 and book 2 of the Book of the Ice series, all in together to develop the lore, the history, the background behind the world building and the magic systems that we see throughout the novel. The world building that Mark developed during his early novels really pays off during this book, and it's one of the things that will keep you turning page by page, and certainly was my greatest highlight for this book. Again, like a lot of Mark's books, he finishes really strongly. He leaves this on a massive cliffhanger, much similar if you've read to book 1. And it will leave a lot of people automatically looking for book 3. Another pro for this book is the cover design. When compared to book 1, they're both very similar. Beautiful books, incredible covers, and they sit really nicely on a shelf together. And that's, we're book nerds. Covers mean a lot. And now let's jump into things that I didn't love so much about this book. Mark writes with a lot of multiple points of views throughout this book, and that's a real strength that I found compared to his other books, because it gave us an insight into some of Yaz's friends and the side characters that I found really hard to connect with in book 1. This is a pro in the way that it made me connect with them further, but unfortunately I still couldn't find real empathy or tension in the sections that I felt like the author wanted me to. I really struggled to connect to the characters when they were in times of great danger. When they wanted things, needed things, I found myself a little bit blasé about those situations where I would want to be white-knuckled gripping the book trying to work out what happens next. I've read a lot of reviews where people were really stoked and on tender hooks trying to work out what happens next to the characters. So if you are watching this wondering whether to grab the book or not based on the character development, if you've enjoyed book 1 and the characters that were built there, you will definitely enjoy this book as well. Another thing that I found to be a negative for this book, something that I struggled to overcome, was the pacing of this book. The start of book 2 feels very much like the end of book 1. It wraps up a lot of things and starts off really strong and really quickly. And then, without spoiling it too much, there is a travel section in this book. And whilst Mark has built this rugged, cold ice world, and the way that the traveling section feels like you're slogging through the ice and the snow with the characters, and quite a few of you will find that an incredibly immersive experience that you will find will just add to the book. Whereas for me, I found myself skim reading paragraphs and pages looking for important tidbits, but I found I got really bogged down through that section. And I think if you're someone who struggles with uneven pacing of books and you're quite sensitive to that, you will find this book hard in parts. I think I've seen a lot of people that have really enjoyed that aspect of it, but for me, I definitely found myself really slogging through it, and the immersive experience of that did not overcome having to get through it. The enjoyment just wasn't there for me. And there was a couple of times during the book that, as I said, I found myself skipping large portions. Whilst I found this part of the book quite repetitive and quite a slog, as I've just said, I also don't know how Mark as an author could have done it differently. And I understand that by me saying that, I sound like I'm being critical for the sake of being critical, but I found myself really bogged down and that enjoyment got sucked out. I found myself pulled out of the book a little bit, just trying to get through that section. And I didn't find there was enough character progress through those sections to really keep me turning pages and to find that section exciting enough. And so, yeah, maybe that's just me, but you guys will let me know what you think in the comments below. On to the closing thoughts. While it's not integral to have read the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, it certainly made this a more enjoyable read for me. Being able to find little bits of lore, history, world building tied into this book that then ties into the Book of the Ancestor trilogy and further books, I found, as I said before, one of the strongest parts of this book and one of the things that kept me turning the pages. If you enjoyed the first book, The Girl and Her Stars, there is absolutely no doubt that you will enjoy this book, and you may even enjoy it more. For those of you like me who really struggled with the first book, I also think you will enjoy this book more. I think it's a much more well-written book, and I think Mark's done a good job with it. It just might not be the book for me. This book certainly sets up some major plot points and promises for book 3 and for any books down the track. I will definitely be picking up book 3 in order to see whether Mark can keep those promises or whether he breaks them. If you've read any of Mark's books before, the prose will feel quite comfortable, quite normal for you. I found a few moments where I got stuck and had to double back and reread. And maybe that's part of what made sections of this book feel quite bogged down for me. But yeah, again, you guys let me know what you think. So overall, I'm going to give this book a 6 out of 10 on personal enjoyment. If you've read this book, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and I will see you next video. Cheers.